The second part is a thing they refer to as customary and reasonable compensation. Again, there's going to be a path to mitigate risk here. They call it a presumption of compliance. So there's a full-blown safe harbor with independence. With customary and reasonable compensation, there's simply a presumption of compliance. It's a little bit lower bar, but it also means that you're more open to criticism potentially if you're not following the expectations in this area. The idea here is this segment only applies to third-party appraisers that you pay a fee to. So traditionally, it'll be certified and licensed appraisers. What they're going to make certain of here is, hey, for the same work performed from one appraiser to the next, the compensation should be similar. Not exact, but similar. So customary and reasonable compensation is what they call the rule. So we go to page number 34. In order to achieve this presumption of compliance, you've got a couple different options. So option one is you could do nothing again and say, we're just going to duke it out with the examiners and hope that our process is tried and true and they don't have any issues with it. Option two is you could take the primary presumption of compliance, page 34, it's letter A in the middle of the page. And what you do is simply list all of the third-party appraisers that you use on your appraiser list and do some research on them. Make sure for the same work performed that the fee that they're charging is relatively close to one another. If you have outliers, you need to reconcile that, or maybe you don't use that appraiser anymore. Again, the idea here is you're making sure that you're paying third-party appraisers for the same work performed, the similar compensation, customary and reasonable compensation. So that's one option. The reason I like this one is if you do it here for this requirement, it's going to help you out with TRID and the numbers you're going to put on your TRID loan estimate documents, because there you're probably running a rotation. And so you take the highest of these numbers. Now, again, they should all be similarly close to one another, but if one is $20 higher than the rest, that's the one that should go on your TRID loan estimate. So you knock out two regulatory requirements by doing one action here. The alternative to that, if you still want to have a presumption of compliance or try to achieve that, is page 35, letter B, and that is hiring a third party to use market research to determine whether or not what you pay third-party appraisers is customary and reasonable for the same work performed. I've actually never ran into a bank that's outsourced this to a third party, but it's an option on the table. Most go back and say, it's easy enough, we have to do it anyway for third-party oversight and due diligence, to go back to the bottom of page 34 and say, here's our list. For the same work performed, here's what they charged. And if there's any outliers, we're having a discussion or we're taking them off the list. And I know there's safety and soundness rules you have to go about in order to do that. But from a compliance standpoint, that's what it comes down to.